Hello everyone. Sleep. Why fall in love when you can fall asleep, right? Today I want to talk about the importance of getting a good sleep and 8 scientific health benefits from sleep, because some sleeping tips. Okay. Benefit number 1. Not getting enough sleep is linked to fat. Did you know that lack of sleep, one of the most largest risk factors in obesity? In a scientific study, adults that didn't get enough sleep were 55% more likely to be obese. And what's even worse, children are 89% more likely to be obese when not getting enough sleep. So another benefit, getting the right amount of sleep improves hormones. Cortisol, your stress hormone, is lowered with the right amount of sleep. Elevated levels of this hormone over time is associated with poor skin quality, obesity, and a long list of other issues. Better sleep has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity and raise testosterone levels, which will give you more natural energy. Good sleep improves your immune system. Another health benefit of sleep is that it helps you fight off being sick, and a recent study of people who slept less than 7 hours a night are 3 times more to develop a cold than those who sleep over 8 hours or more. Sleeping helps improve learning, and in a Swiss university study, 2 groups were introduced to a new language. One group right before bed, and one during the daytime. The ones who sleep immediately after learning a new material learned the language quicker, and those in the daytime, well, they were just slow. So studying before bedtime seems to be a good idea then. And good sleep lowers the risk of developing depression. In a study of twins, researchers found that bad sleep increases the generic risk of developing depression. In fact, it has been estimated that 90% of patients with depression also suffer from some sort of apnea, which is like when you forget to breathe at night. And people get more sleep naturally, eat less. When you don't get enough sleep, the functions of hormones cause greater cravings and worse appetite control. So if you are someone who's trying to lose weight but just can't stay away from that late night snack, getting more sleep is something that you can probably help. Sleep helps us empathize with others. Another strange health benefit of sleep is a better understanding of social cues. One study found out those who are sleep deprived lose the ability to properly recognize expressions of anger and happiness in the faces of others. And sleep improves athletic performances. In a basketball study, players with a better night rest improves the player's reaction time, speed, and recurse. So now that we discussed the health benefits of sleep, let's talk about how to get a better night rest. Here's 5 sleeping tips everyone needs to know. So, sleeping tip number 1, use blackout curtains and duct tape to black out your room. Melatonin, also known as the sleep hormone, is raised when the sun goes down to indicate our bodies that it's time to rest. The problem is that street lights, outlets, and sort of other unnatural lights confuse this hormone, and it tricks it into thinking that it's still daytime. Do a complete blackout in your room, and you'll notice a big difference in both the quality of your sleep you get and the ability to get to sleep. Also, computers, screens, and phone confuse melatonin as well as their nighttime mode. But it's always best to not use them 1 hour before bedtime. Sleeping tip number 2, have a routine. Humans are habitual creatures, and creating a systematic routine will improve sleep. Something as simple as brushing their teeth, reading a book for 15 minutes, and immediately going to sleep is a habit you can build to make your sleep almost automatic at night. Use your bed for nothing but sleep and the occasional physical activity. Goes with the habit thing, but the moment you hit the bed, you want the body to recognize that it's time to fall asleep. So try not to work on it or spend any time on your bed when you're resting. Use a pillow between your legs, underneath, like between or underneath. This would help you maintain the alignment of your back and improve your posture over time. And it would also help you with the lower back pain. There isn't a perfect way to sleep, but if you sleep on your back, probably that's the best way to sleep. And also, napping is great. A short 20 to 30-minute nap lowers cortisol levels, and it's very healthy for your body. So bring back a little of your childhood and do a quick cat nap, and when you're feeling tired. So, in conclusion, the right amount of time for optimal sleep benefits is 7 to 9 hours per night. No less than 7 hours and no more than 9 hours seems to be the right amount.
All right, so Jaslyn, what did you think?
I thought it was funny. Like your attention getter was really good, and it kind of drew the class in, and you were like saying some funny things in it. And then you had good visual aids. And the only thing that I would say is like, just don't read directly from your card. I guess that's really it. That sounded like you did your research though, so it was good.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Well, I'm going to disagree with Jaslyn on a couple of things. I'm going to agree with her on a couple of things also. There's good information in the speech, but I don't think that you're citing it as efficiently as you need to. For example, there's a couple of times that you refer to studies, and one study said this, or a Swiss study said that, and that's as specific a reference as we got in the whole presentation. So I know that there is research content to your presentation, but it's not being cited in the speech. I appreciate the little joke at the beginning. I think it could be a little bit more engaging, but it just kind of shows up out of nowhere, this odd rhetorical question: why fall in love when you could fall asleep? And I'm going, okay. It comes so quickly that it doesn't really feel much like a lead in to the speech. It's so short. It's not that it's inappropriate. I just think that that would be maybe a good transition line to your purpose statement if you had a little story that started first and then do that punchline that you've got there and then talk about the subject, I think it would work better at getting us into the topic. As it is, it feels like it's a half of an introduction, a half of an attention device, rather than a full attention device. As I was listening to the opening part of the speech, I got quite worried because it says, here I want to talk about something concerning sleep, and then there are these 8 benefits of sleep, and I'm going, okay, so I've got 1 point that I'm going to be hearing about, and then there are 8 other things that I'm going to be hearing about, so I've got a 9-part speech that's about to come up, and that worries me that that's turning into a list, and in fact there is a lot of list-like sort of behavior in the presentation, and that's a problem. And then you get to a place where you've got 5 tips for us to sleep. So now I've got this opening section, 8 benefits, 5 tips. It's definitely, it needs to be organized differently. And there needs to be a way that you can kind of group those things together so it doesn't sound quite as overwhelming with here's another thing and here's another thing and here's another thing, but instead you are kind of walking us through the story or the process. And I think some of what you did in the presentation is trying to do that. It didn't really feel super list-like when you were talking about the benefits, but when you got to the other thing about your checklist about falling asleep, that was a little bit more like that checklist. I do think that there needs to be a clearer structure. It sounded to me like maybe there are actually 3 parts to the speech, and there's a little bit of an absence as to the justification for talking about this. I do think there's some good information in the speech that would give you a good justification at the beginning of the speech to talk about it. And you could also design it, I think, a lot more for the audience that you're speaking to. Students, of course, especially run into those kinds of issues because they're overdoing things. I did like the reference to the studying and being able to learn more. I thought that was something that was helpful there. We aren't emphasizing presentation too much right now. That's not a big part of the evaluation form, but to me, that's the thing that stands out about the presentation, and it's not standing out in a good way because you're doing a lot of reading, and it sounds like you're reading it for the first time sometimes. You're stumbling over words and phrases that are part of the subject matter. Some of them you pronounce in a way that is a little bit odd. I don't like picking on people's pronunciation, but once you'll watch back and you'll say, oh, I said that kind of funny, and you'll know what I'm talking about. There's also one section where there's a sentence, and I don't think you recognize where the cadence of the sentence is supposed to change. You just read the whole sentence, and it sounds very odd because there's no comma in there. And I get the impression that what you're doing is you're citing some information from a source that is not being cited, so that's a problem. And you're quoting directly from it, and you're just reading the quote without having thought about what it actually says. And you need to be the one who's telling us these things. So put it in your own words, give us the explanation. If you are going to quote, you got to practice the quote a lot more. Otherwise, it's going to sound awkward the whole time. It sounds like you need like 3 more days of rehearsal, and you need to get a little bit more comfortable when you're speaking. The visuals are okay. They do nice transitions between the points. That helps us know what it is that you're talking about at any given point. I don't think all of the visuals add much except a transition point. There's not a lot of information in any of the slides. They just give us a reminder, here's something different that we're talking about. And that's not a bad thing, but they could probably be a little bit more interesting. I got the impression that you deliberately avoided saying sex in that one line. That's when I laughed. It said, you're supposed to, the only thing you're supposed to use your bed for is to sleep and then some exercise. And I'm going, what exercises do people do in bed? I've seen these studies. I've heard this speech 1,000 times. I won't say 1,000 times before, but I've heard it numerous times before, and that's exactly the advice that they all give. Your bed is for sleeping and sex, and other than that, you shouldn't be watching TV, you shouldn't be answering your email, you shouldn't be reading, all those kinds of things. And I thought, she probably felt a little self-conscious saying that, and so she found a creative way of doing it, which just made me laugh anyway. All right, thank you.